Welcome to the Insurance Producers Podcast, where we bring you the top personalized producers, insurance agents, and industry partners, giving you at least 3 takeaways to 10x your production and build your multi-million-dollar revenue books. So sit back, relax, and become inspired by the success stories and strategies of the world's top insurance minds. Let's roll. All right, welcome back to the Insurance Producers Podcast. I'm your host, Cyrus Jaffery. Hey, I've got a good friend of mine today, Luis, right here in Omaha, Nebraska. Man, you all know how much I love in-person podcasts, and we don't do this all the time. But today, Luis, what's happening, man? Good to see you.
Hey, Cyrus, super happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. Always grateful. More than anything, we're here to discuss, insurance, niche marketing, and how we've became what I think is a successful agency within 2 years. So happy to share some tips and tricks. And more than anything, this is just a start for us. So super excited to be here with you, Cyrus.
Yeah, man, it's been fun though. So I've known Luis for a long time. Probably, almost 10 years maybe, or something like that, 7 years, something like that. Yeah. And was with the Captive Agent Show, a little bit about his story. But, man, I've seen him come through on the independent channel. Man, he's been rocking and rolling the last couple of years, following him on social media and following the things he's doing. So, man, I'm so proud of him. And our market needs it, man. Our market needs really good independent agents. It's still pretty big captive presence in the state of Nebraska, but it's really been fun to have him on our side, on the independent channel side, and kind of go at it. So Luis, tell us a little bit about your background, man, how you got into the insurance industry and where you are now.
That's actually a very funny story. Growing up, I always wanted to be a car mechanic. It seems like nothing ever works out when you have plans, right? And I just accidentally fell into an internship with State Farm right out of high school, essentially. Really saw the value of what that career could look like. And just over time, scaled slowly. I was a receptionist at first, answering phone calls, redirecting traffic. Then that became a service role. And then from service, more of a sales role. And towards the end of my career with State Farm, I was what I would consider myself the sales manager for my office. Just naturally fell into this market, but super grateful for that, as it's taught me leadership and honestly has given me the opportunity to surround myself by great leaders as well. I'm a first generation Latino from Mexico roots. My grandparents came here to the United States during the 70s, more than anything part of the Bracero group. My grandpa came here to work, and over time my family kind of just stayed by. And I've born and raised here in Omaha, Nebraska, and now Omaha is my home. Really grateful to be here, but at the end of the day, I'm very excited. I think Omaha has a lot of potential, and it's growing day by day, and our Latino market, for the most part, is growing dramatically. And that's really where we've taken the initiative to have a focus and niche down to the Latino market. More than anything, we're grateful for the growth and excited for what's to come.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So we talk a lot about niche, and I know we will talk about that. But just to confirm, so were you at the same office the whole time with State Farm, or did you switch offices?
I was with my first State Farm office for about a year. And then from there, I went over to a second State Farm office where I spent most of my career. Cool. I was there roughly about 6-7 years. Great office. Honestly, that's what I believe is the biggest contribution to my success today. I was surrounded by individuals that combined had over 150 years of combined experience. Very talented, very respectful, and very honest people that have kind of showed me what it is to be a successful agent. And what I mean successful isn't what your book of business looks like. In all reality, it's the service you give your clients. Mm-hmm.
No, 100%, man. That's definitely your office. It's so I want you to tell me just really quick, if you got into the independent channel without the captive experience, would you have the same success you're having today?
That's a great question. And if I'm completely honest, I want to say no. Being captive taught me so much, taught me to use one tool and do the best that I can with that one tool. it really taught me product knowledge. You have to be on your A game, especially when you only have one solution to 100 different problems, right? I think the foundation, the way that things are handled, the way you go about claims, the way you go about education, has set a strong footprint of what Protectors has become on the independent world. And a lot of the things that I learned on the captive side are things that I've implemented into the independent world. Why fix something that's not broken? We've made tweaks to try to improve our processes. But in regards to, the 7-8 years that I have with State Farm, it's valuable to my success on the independent world.
Yeah, 100%. I say this all the time, man. I worked for Wells Fargo for 4 years, and then I had State Farm for 6 years, so 10 years. The giants of what they do, the best bank in the world and the best insurance company at the time as far as revenue goes in the world. And those are the best, man. And who else are you going to learn from? Learn from the best.
100%.
And then you take their stuff and you go implement and make it your own way. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, 100%. And, one thing that I'm very grateful for is that my leader at the time, Tom Rivera, big shout out to him. He received me with wide open arms. One of the biggest things about my success is that no matter what position I was in, I've always treated the business as if it was mine. So I've been able to learn a lot of things. And, Tom gave me the opportunity to do that. He would give me, the opportunity to make decisions for the office, make decisions on lead flow and who we were seeking for leads. And those are things that are just, invaluable. At the end of the day, it was somebody else's dime and we managed the best we could. And I think leadership is a big one, right? You really become who you're surrounded with, and, being part of such a large successful agency has shifted and my mindset on what I want to be and the people that I want to serve. A couple years later, 2 years since I've left, then I still have a great relationship with them. And till this day, there's people that I look up to. So nothing but respect for that team over there at Tom Rivera's office.
That's awesome, man. So on the independent channel, things are going really well, man. Obviously, and you probably didn't have the hard market right away, but you came in probably 6 months later, or probably a year later. It really got tough, right?
Really tough, yes.
And obviously, man, you're knocking it out of the park, so you're one of the fastest growing agents. What has been, I don't want to be like, hey, what's your secret sauce by any means, but like, what are some things you've learned? What are some things you learned your first year, right? Coming from a captive channel to the independent channel. And here's what I know about independent channel. You really don't have a lot of people holding your hand. No. Like, it's like you're kind of on your own island, It's not like State Farm where you could go to your agent or you could go to other agents and ask for questions and, hey, what do I do here, It's kind of like, figure it out, man.
Yeah.
Right? So, What was that first year like, and what are maybe some challenges or things that you had to deal with?
We came right around April 2022, right before the hard market. Those first 6 months really allowed me to really get a feeling for what we were doing and really where our goal and our mission was. I was able to learn the systems, the processes, underwriting guidelines, and luckily kind of timed that correctly, or timed that right without really knowing it, because that allowed me to get a little bit of experience before things really took a turn for the worst. Making the decision to go independent was not easy. I myself was exploring opportunities independent as well as captive. There was one thing in the back of my mind, which was opportunity and options. And sometimes that doesn't mix very well, right? We want to be in a position where we want to put you in the best position to win, and that one solution may not fit all. For me, I would say the biggest attribution to success was discovering what I'm good at and who I can truly connect with. And that's just going back to the niche markets, right? At the time, I wasn't really sure what my focus was going to be. But, being Latino, being bilingual, being fluent in both English and Spanish put me in a position to maybe dominate markets where a lot of my other competition wouldn't have such a high success ratio as I did. And discovering the fact that there's a high need for bilingual insurance agents was an eye-opener. You know, I would say that if we were to compare the numbers, there's probably 5 English-speaking agents to 1 Latino agent. And it's a competitive market. You know, I think we're in the insurance capital of the U.S. here in Omaha. You know, there's a ton of life insurance companies here, and it's a big market. It was really discovering that niche market, the importance of the niche market, and just being open to it. As I was transitioning to the independent world, you know, I got different points of views and different recommendations. And there was always that one scary recommendation given to me by some of my colleagues is, you know, the Latino market is a tough market. You know, these are people that don't understand the laws of insurance. They come from other countries where insurance isn't maybe such a big deal or a government requirement like it is here with most policies. So understanding the fact that I had to lead with education and being a leader in my community is what has driven us to the success that we've had in the last 2 years. Discovering that market was a game changer. And we've dived all in to that market. You know, we do a ton of workshops, education, seminars, to provide more than just a product, right? We want to be a resource to our community. We want to be leaders for our community and be a resource to where maybe I'm not the right guy for you, but I can point you the right direction as we do try to connect with other leaders in the community. So I would say the biggest difficulty was discovering that and being okay with it, right? We sometimes have the mindset of we want to work with everyone and offer all kinds of solutions, but in our reality, you can be good at 1 or 2 things. You can't be good at everything. And us being aware of that has allowed us to really step up our game in those 2 or 3 areas where we do think we can excel and maybe where our competition doesn't have the upper edge as we do. And Omaha has exploded in the Latino community. The population, I think by 2030 is going to make up 1/3 of the population in the city. So it's a market that needs a lot of representation, that is underserved, and we are embracing that.
That's awesome. Good for you, man. You've done a really good job. So why seminars, man? I know I've seen you all the time on social media and how has that helped your business? Like, I understand why, because at the end of the day, man, I look at a State Farm, and I'm sure you do the same, was like, okay, you're like the mayor of your town is what they called it. Okay, for a State Farm agent or whatever, right? Like they were very big on like the community, good neighbor kind of thing. And you've taken some of that to your independent channel saying, hey, listen, like I'm the mayor of South Omaha, if you want to call it, whatever. I want to be able to educate other people because I am a professional. I have a license. I have a business and I can help other people. Yeah. That's how you see it. Right? So I understand that's what the seminars are for. But how has it helped your business, and why should other agents who are not doing it do it?
You know, it really comes down to brand recognition and becoming a public figure within your community. And what I mean by public figure isn't becoming a famous artist in any way, shape, or form. It's just really being a resource and having an open door, right? As we've hosted some of these seminars, it doesn't matter if 5 people show up, 15 people show up. Anytime we have people in front of us, we want to give them the best of what we can deliver and really lead with education. The brand recognition aspect of it is anywhere we go, people start recognizing us. And in the Latino community, word of mouth is powerful. Yes. We help 1 or 2 families, and those 2 or 3 families share their experience with us, with their friends and family. And by the end of the week, we have 3 or 4 new calls. So for the most part, the biggest attribute or the biggest success of having the seminars besides education is the brand awareness, brand recognition, and letting people know that we're really here and we're here to make a difference, and, you know, showcasing that by leading with education. They've been very successful for us. We try to host one type of seminar, whether it's business or first-time home buyers, at least once a month. And that has gotten traction. I remember our first seminar, we had maybe 4 or 5 people show up. We've had up to 30 people show up to some of these seminars, which is hard to do, right? Especially when it's on a Saturday and people are either having to take time off from work or leave their family to come, you know, join you at this seminar. So definitely been one of those tools that have allowed us to have brand recognition and, you know, maybe beat some of the competition in the area.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. What do you see insurance? So last couple of years has been tough, right? So what is your take for people that are, it's a tough market, I don't really want to leave where I'm at, whether they're at another independent agency, whether they're captive, and they're like, hey man, I've been wanting to go be an independent on the independent side. Do you see a lot of agents pulling the trigger at this time, or do you think they're going to stick around where they are and kind of test the market? And the second piece of that is, do you think they should pull the trigger, or what's your take on that?
You know, if I'm completely honest with you, I think it's probably one of the toughest time to make that leap of faith. Taking that leap of faith alone in a good market is difficult on its own, right? You are in a new market, you are starting from zero, you're not inheriting, for the most part, a book of business unless you start off with one. And a lot of times captive gives you that solution, right? You have a decent base to where you can still provide for yourself and your family. But on the independent world, it's Wild West, right? You eat what you kill. And lately, it's been pretty dry. You know, right. Carriers have really reduced their guidelines and their appetite, have in a way closed their doors, and are making it difficult day by day to write more business. And if your sole income is sales, as we're all commission based, it's going to be a tough up battle. You know, I've heard all kinds of predictions. Hey, this market is going to last 6 months. It's going to last a year. I want to say we're probably a year and a half into this hard market, and there's really no clear sign of when it's going to end. So I think it's a difficult time to get into the business, and a lot of that comes with relationships. Carriers are just not looking for new contracts or new relationships. But I can't say it would be impossible, right? I think if you have the right connections, you join you pair up and join the right teams, you may have some success. But I do think that you're flowing against the current because of the condition of the market.
I like that. I think if you're thinking about it, I think at this time, even aggregators are having a hard time bringing on new agents because there's no non-residents. People are not getting appointments.
Yeah.
Your best bet, in my opinion, is to go find somebody that's in the industry that have the contracts maybe, and find a way, show them your value and find a way to partner with them. Maybe right. That would be an easier way to get into the industry at this point, right?
100%.
So what do you see the market doing in the next 6 to 12 months? I know you're well connected with some of the reps, the carrier reps, and then also obviously you're having a lot of success. I would say, man, even in this hard market, you're having a lot of success, which is great. So what do you see or envision this market doing in the next 6 to 12 months?
You know, for the most part, I do see payment schedules on roofs becoming, you know, pretty standard through most carriers. You know, for a while, you know, there's carriers out there that would give you lifetime replacement on the roof as long as the roof was in good maintenance condition. You know, I think 10 years is going to become a new standard. I think a 1% deductible for wind and hail is going to become a new standard. And as the home continues to grow value, and we know Omaha has just blown up in terms of equity, you know, that 1% will follow, which might ease the premium a little bit. It may have you second guess whether filing this claim is worth it or not. And honestly, unfortunately, it seems like the mentality of insurance has shifted a lot in the last couple of years, especially during this hardship of the economy, right? People are looking to use their insurance policy more of a maintenance plan rather than, you know, physical losses. So these carriers are forced to make these adjustments to stay afloat and still be competitive in the market. Now, I am very optimistic and do know that the market will eventually open up, whether that's at the end of the year or by the end of 2025. I'm not losing faith, but I do think these changes are needed. You know, I think changes are good for a market. And as long as we're around, we're going to try to stay on top of what those requirements are to continue to educate our clients and still delivering the best product that we possibly can offer. You know, I think the biggest help for us has been quality over price, right? And having our clients understand why what you're paying for is important in understanding the benefits of that. Price really doesn't say anything until you have to use it.
Yeah.
And we've had a ton of storms lately, and I think a lot of our clients are quite happy with our recommendations and the fact that we've chosen options based on quality rather than price. We try to get that price mentality out of the way, and it really comes back to education. It definitely is a hard market, Cyrus. We've seen agents come and go. We've seen agencies close their doors, and we never wish failure on anybody, but during this market you really have to be on your A game. You really have to be focused and consistent more than anything.
100%. Yeah. So did you have a revenue in mind? When did you add on new producers? Because I know in the last couple of years you came by yourself, and I know you remember you adding one person, and then you added another person, and now a third person.
Yeah.
Within the first 2 years, you had 3 people working for you. What was that process like? What were you thinking about, or what would you have in mind as you keep adding on these people? Was it revenue based? Was it just like projections of what you were going to do? Service heavy? Like, how did you determine to add on people?
Great question. At first, I want to say within those first couple of months, I really wasn't sure what I was looking for. I think things just happened naturally. I was a solo warrior doing the service, the sales, the seminars, hosting seminars. In all reality, I had a commitment to myself that those first 2 years, I was going to be an employee of Protectors, and any actual profit was to be reinvested back into Protectors, because I knew that eventually Protectors would be bigger than just myself, right? 100%. In terms of growing my team, I also was seeking individuals that were in a very similar position than I was when I was freshly out of college, right? Not sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I had the hunger, and I knew I had the work ethic to make something out of myself. Sometimes you just need direction in life, right? And my first hire is just exactly what happened. I was looking for a talented individual that I can help shift and craft into what I think could be a better version of themselves. That first individual trusted in me where, maybe we couldn't afford such a big salary, but they were willing to work with me, but also saw the bigger picture of what Protectors could be. Working in the Latino community, it is very service heavy, right? These are individuals that want to hear from you and rather work with you than calling the 1-800 number, which there's agencies out there that dislike that. I myself want to embrace that, right? Especially right now with all the fight of the direct-to-consumer carriers trying to take that angle. We want to be there for our clients, and we want our clients to depend on us, So as our sales grew, our service needs grew, and Protectors is built to serve others, not serve myself, which is why anytime that our clients have a question and they call our 402 number, I want to make sure somebody's always there answering the phone call and deliver either a question or a brief pause to where we can get back to them and provide a solution to their problem. We've been able to scale up by bringing the right individuals in, but then these individuals also see the bigger picture.
Right.
These are individuals that have either changed industries because their industry wasn't working out, or they just weren't being treated fairly. And a lot of times that's one of the biggest keys to growing a successful team is serving your team and trying to create not only pay, but benefits based on what they're looking for, whether it's more time off to spend with their family, whether it is income, or whether it's a bigger picture in mind, right? There was really no rule of thumb. For me, it was more of I could feel it naturally as I was very active on the day-to-day grind, still writing business till this day. I could kind of just naturally feel the pulse of things were getting over my head. And at the end of the day, I was losing control of certain things. And that's when I brought my team and started to grow my team. It's hard to really put a price to it or a premium to it. But I would say as I approached the 1 million book sizes when I knew I had to hire my third individual.
100%. That's a good mark. That's a really good mark. So team is rocking and rolling, man. What's you guys' plans for the rest of the year, man? Finishing this year strong. What you guys are honing in on? Hey, man, market's tough. We got to be tougher kind of mentality? Or are you guys saying, hey, let's kind of button things down and and figure stuff out, systems, processes, and everything in this tough market.
As things got tough, I think our commitment to our clients only increased. And during this hard market, we've had to get out of certain markets, right? I think when we first started, we were specifically focused on home and auto. And as that market itself shut down and got more restrictive, we shifted into the commercial side of things. And in our Latino market, there's just a big need for contractors, and contractors make up probably most of the workforce in the area on the construction side. And a lot of those individuals have gained education from other leaders in the area that has pushed them to become their own businesses. We saw a huge need for education on the contractor side, whether it's getting, meeting compliance with the Department of Labor, meeting compliance with the City of Omaha through the Douglas County. We've been able to pick those niches to really improve our services, as well as offering solutions to the problems that already existed. Other than that, it's a crazy market, and my team is aware of that. I don't think I've ever experienced such a difficult market in the last 8 or 9 years of working in the insurance industry, but I feel more committed than ever. We've increased our marketing expenses to make sure that our brand recognition is there no matter what's going on in the market, and we want to always be available and be a tool for the community no matter what's going on in the insurance market. Our vision is to just be the best we can, right? And that means, continue to join webinars, and as carriers host these webinars, we try to attend as many as we can to be as educated as possible on all the changes that are being implemented, and pushing my team to get licenses in different areas. A lot of us started off with just the personal lines license, and now we've converted all of our team to commercial. So all of my team now is licensed for both personal and casualty, which is more on the commercial side. So while things slowed down, we've only ramped things up. We've grown our team during the most difficult probably year of insurance, and our production really has not slowed down. Our production, if anything, has only grown through these difficult markets, because we've just been resilient. We've just stayed focused. We've stayed committed. And at the end of the day, our community is there to support us, just like we're there to support them.
Yeah, you do good, man. You get good. You get better, and people recognize that, especially in that community, man. People talk about you. You do the right thing, man. Your name's gonna get out. One thing about minorities in general, man, and not just Hispanics, they love referring people, man. If you do a good job to them, they'll tell their mother and sister and brother, and the word spreads fast. And if you do something bad, that spreads fast too. So you gotta be really careful. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, you've done an incredible job, man. Thanks for sharing some of those secrets. I got a couple more final questions for you, man. But I was curious if you have anything else you wanted to share in your journey last couple of years that you wanted to tell the audience about. There's going to be a lot of people listening to this that are maybe a year or two in. Some of them are maybe longer in, and they're not even close to your book of business maybe, or your revenue, or your team. And some of them, they're like, hey man, I wish I was Luis, or I wish I could pull the trigger. So you get a combination of many different people on this podcast. Anything you want to share to those people on your kind of departing words, man? So.
Yeah. In all honesty, it's just really believing in yourself, and you are your biggest asset. If you're not willing to get up early and putting those long hours, unfortunately, things more than likely won't work out, right? Things just don't happen by luck. Things don't just happen overnight. And fighting your own demons, fighting your own mental battles is tough, and I think as men, that's some things that a lot of times we don't discuss with others. But, I've had a ton of mental battles with myself, whether I knew I was enough or not. And especially going through this tough market, there's days that you do lose sleep at night, not knowing if you're going to survive next week. Times that your bank account is positive, but also negative. And being able to push through that, at the end of the day, I always like to say that God is going to put you through all the good and the bad, but there's always a reason for it. And a lot of times that reason makes you better, and it makes you search deep to come out of those struggles. You can never lose faith. You can never, back down, no matter if things are controllable or not, and being okay with things you can't control, and being understanding of things that you can control, but also not losing the hunger to get after things that you can't control, right? We need to attack those things that aren't controllable with the things we can control. So if anybody's out there listening and they're looking to make the jump and the leap of faith, I would say maybe now is not the right time. I think you have to strategize, and you have to, get as much momentum as you can and try to use things to your advantage. But I think the time is now to start working on yourself and investing into yourself. You may not have a business now, but that doesn't mean you can't read books, you can't read podcasts and listen to podcasts. Listening to Cyrus, these are things that, we do on a day-to-day basis, try to improve and learn, whether it's business or whether it's faith or whether it's just self-belief. You can start now and making a difference today. You don't have to actually be a business owner to make a difference. The difference can be done now.
To put you on the spot here, what do you think is the definition of greatness?
I think the definition of greatness should change as you hit different points in life, right? I remember being very young and having the definition of success, and I thought I knew what that was. As I've hit different points in life, I've realized that there's really, in my opinion, there's never really an ending, right? It's always the adapting myself to any circumstances, any market, and doing the best that I can. And like I said, being okay with things that I can control and things that I can't control, attacking them the best we can with the tools that we do have. But in my definition of greatness is having family, having faith, and taking care of those around me, and being a resource, and being a leader within my community is what I would consider greatness.
If there's one or two things that you have to do to win the day, for me, for example, man, if I don't get a 5 a.m. workout, sometimes my day just doesn't go as planned. I'm not as energetic. I'm not on top of my game. And then two things I do with my family. If you had to pick one or two things for you to win the day, things that you must do every day for you to have a successful day, what do you think that would be?
I would say the biggest thing is always being the light to my team, right? These individuals are people that come in wanting to give their best to others and provide solutions to our clients. But these people also have, traumas. They also have issues on their own. So if I can always be there to listen and provide feedback and have their best interests in mind, that alone is a win for me. Two, I have really gotten into the mindset of bettering myself physically. In the last 6 months, I've lost over 50 pounds.
Wow.
Starting this business really got the best out of me. The late nights, the early mornings, the stress. I really forgot about myself. And in the last 6 months, I really shifted my mindset to, oil the machine and make sure that I am operating at the peak level in order for me to be able to deliver the best to others. So, in the last 6 months, I've gone on the routine of eating clean and always working out on a daily basis. For the month of June, we ran 48 miles. Running has allowed me to have mental clarity and think business while I'm running, right? Awesome. Listening to music and just thinking about what my next step is, what tomorrow is going to look like, and how I can, dominate the day and dominate tomorrow and dominate the future. But I never lose sight of God. God has really pushed me to be better for myself and have my own definition of what that means. I've also gotten out of the routine of caring about what other people think about me, because at the end of the day, I think God will determine and decide that for me.
100%. Dude, this was great, man. Appreciate you being on. Thanks for being here, and we'll definitely have you again, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Cyrus. Always a pleasure.